The Urantia Book is a text full of mystery and intrigue. Despite its many revelations, the text often cites limitations of its discourse due to our current epochal status as a species not being ready for such an advancement in knowledge. This includes, of course, the secrets of divinity that are not even revealed to the higher personalities, such as those who wrote the various papers of the Urantia text. Consequently, it's important to highlight that just because an author indicates that there is little value to dreams and their associated interpretations does not mean that such secrets go unrevealed even unto them. I personally believe, after reading the totality of the Urantia Book a few times, that your thought adjuster, midwayers, and even possibly your guardian seraphim can and do influence your mind. As a brief example, we learn in 113.4.4 that oftentimes the urge to pray is the result of seraphic influence. With that said, this channel is about the Urantia perspective on all of this. So with my biases out of the way, let's jump into what dreams represent as conveyed in the Urantia Book. The Urantia Book itself has an interesting take on dreams. It distinguishes between the phenomenon of ordinary and extraordinary dreams. Ordinary dreams, according to the text, are largely superstitious and not a reliable method for spiritual communication, subjugating more to a modern-day approach of psychology and, of course, speculation surrounding its practice. In 86.5.11, it even states that Moses was right in rejecting the idea that God speaks to people directly through dreams when it states,
"All down through the ages, men have stood in awe of the apparitions of the night season. And the Hebrews were no exception. They truly believed that God spoke to them in dreams, despite the injunctions of Moses against this idea. And Moses was right, for ordinary dreams are not the methods employed by the personalities of the spiritual world when they seek to communicate with material beings."
However, let's not make a dichotomy of this citation when the quote clearly differentiates unremarkable dreams as being quote-unquote ordinary, and of course not extraordinary. However, the book does acknowledge that some dreams, like those of Jesus' earthly father Joseph, and the apostle Peter, and even likely John the Baptist's father Zacharias, who became convinced because of an impressive dream located in 122.2.5 that their son was to be the son of destiny, were examples of extraordinary dreams and likely were influenced by other celestial beings. Joseph, for example, had a dream where a brilliant celestial messenger reassured him about Jesus' role in the world. Peter, on the other hand, had a vivid dream that helped him overcome certain religious traditions found in 153.3.6. Ironically, the famous Jesus walking on water story was heavily influenced by a dream Peter had that he mistook as being reality, found in 152.4.2 to 4 sections, plunging himself into the water. Despite the text indicating that the dream was not, in fact, a reality, was the dream an actual message from Jesus Christ? The book does not speculate. In 105.6, we learn,
"If one is disposed to recognize a theoretical subconscious mind as a practical working hypothesis in the otherwise unified intellectual life, then, to be consistent, one should postulate a similar and corresponding realm of ascending intellectual activity as the superconscious level, the zone of immediate contact with the indwelling spirit entity, the thought adjuster. The great danger in all these psychic speculations is that visions and other so-called mystic experiences, along with extraordinary dreams, may be regarded as divine communications to the human mind. In the past, divine beings have revealed themselves to certain God-knowing persons, not because of their mystic trances or morbid visions, but in spite of all these phenomenon."
So to sum up this quote in an easier to digest perspective, I have truly believed that my own thought adjuster has communicated with me at least several times in the past through dreams. The common denominator is not the dream environment or figure per se, but they are the only figure that I can fully interact with, literally orchestrating the whole dream, where their responses do not appear to be scripted versus other figures of the dream, right? Where it seems rehearsed or automatic sometimes. Sometimes they blend into the background, almost like they are simply monitoring the dream. And on very rare occasions, they are more direct with me, especially if I happen to identify them. In 110.5.2, we learn that
man's dream experiences, that disordered and disconnected parade of the uncoordinated sleeping mind, present adequate proof of the failure of the adjusters to harmonize and associate the divergent factors of the mind of man. The adjusters simply cannot, in a single lifetime, arbitrarily coordinate and synchronize two such unlike and diverse types of thinking as the human and the divine. When they do, as they sometimes have, such souls are translated directly to the mansion worlds without the necessity of passing through the experience of death.
So this reality might bolster my theory associated with unrelated dreams and environments that are actual brain fabrications with the small individual presence and influence of your adjuster. In other words, in dream world, most of the time, the thought adjuster is present, but the captain of this proverbial ship, so to speak, is you in dream world. Any more synergistic influence than that, then you appear to be ascension worthy. Support for my claim can be found in 110.5.3, stating that
during the slumber season, the adjuster attempts to achieve only that which the will of the indwelt personality has previously fully approved by the decisions and choosings which were made during times of fully wakeful consciousness, and which have been thereby become lodged in the realms of the supermind, the liaison domain of human and divine interrelationship.
As Jesus indicated in the New Testament Bible, that everything God does is their will, and consequently, agents of God generally equally prize a human's volition to make good and bad decisions, including your thought adjuster. In fact, in 110.5.4, we learn,
while their mortal hosts are asleep, the adjusters try to register their creations in the higher levels of the material mind. And some of your grotesque dreams indicate their failure to make efficient contact. The absurdities of dream life not only testify to pressure of unexpressed emotions, but also bear witness to the horrible distortion of the representations of the spiritual concepts presented by the adjusters. Your own passions, urges, and other innate tendencies translate themselves into the picture and substitute their unexpressed desires for the divine messages, which the indwellers are endeavoring to put into the psychic records during unconscious sleep.
Again, this passage highlights how very often our disturbing and intense dreams are a result of our own psyche, emotions, and experiences being symbolic, usually, of resisting the adjuster's efforts. In 110.5.5, it states that
it is extremely dangerous to postulate as to the adjuster content of the dream life. The adjusters do work during sleep, but your ordinary dream experiences are purely physiologic and psychologic phenomenon. Likewise, it is hazardous to attempt the differentiation of the adjuster's concept registry from the more or less continuous and conscious reception of the dictations of mortal conscious. These are problems which will have to be solved through individual discrimination and personal decision. But a human being would do better to err in rejecting an adjuster's expression through believing it to be a purely human experience than to blunder into exalting a reaction of the mortal mind to the sphere of divine dignity. Remember, the influence of the thought adjuster is, for the most part, though not wholly, a superconscious experience.
Consequently, I have found way too many individuals that exalt themselves as to thinking their dreams are of a divine nature and falsely and egocentrically believe that they are more unique and special than their brethren, representing a more grandiose and unhealthy mindset. As a fun fact, it indicates that Christ Michael did not commune with their father via dreams in 105.11, when it states,
However favorable may have been the conditions for a mystic phenomenon, it should be clearly understood that Jesus of Nazareth never resorted to such methods for communion with the Paradise Father. Jesus had no subconscious delusions or superconscious illusions.
Well, that's it for today's video. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you on the next episode.